Good morning, welcome to day 29 of the Relentless Coronavirus Diaries by Geriatric 1944. Well, the world goes on getting increasingly bonkers. I see the main item on the news today is that the deaths in care homes may have been underestimated. And to the amazement, there are many more people who are dying in care homes than were initially reported. I think the next will be hospices. They'll discover that actually people are dying in hospices. Shock, horror, must be coronavirus. And the other news is, of course, that Major Tom, the 99-year-old veteran who's been walking round his garden, is number one on the singles charts. I really do despair about humanity at the moment. It is sinking into total superficiality. I think soon the lemmings in our minds will jump off that cliff. Anyway, also it seems to be apparent watching President Trump in America and then people slowly but surely easing restrictions around the world, that my original theory that actually this virus is nowhere near as lethal as people have thought, or rather as the media has portrayed, and that slowly but surely, I'm drifting again, that slowly but surely people are becoming aware of the fact that it is quite like flu, actually, very, very infectious and extremely lethal to a very small percentage of the people who get it. This seems to be information which is now spreading all over the world. It is slowly dawning on people. So you can look forward to the media in the future changing tack completely and saying governments have screwed up, presidents have screwed up, this country is appalling, that country is wonderful, and the way we dealt with it here is great, the way we dealt with it there is mad, and slowly but surely everyone will open up again, restaurants, hotels, there'll be football games played, there'll be conferences and conventions held, there may even be huge outdoor festivals like Glastonbury. Slowly but surely they'll all slip back with precautions. You must wear masks when watching Rod Stewart. Actually, that's quite wise anyway. Anyway, we'll have to see how things develop. I did a diary piece about my dogs the other day, and one of the things I forgot to say, which I wanted to tell you about, was lullers. Well, my golden cocker spaniel Timmy used to constantly, when he went running around the paddock and everywhere else, develop lullers. Well, lullers were sort of matted clumps of his fur that actually couldn't be combed out because they were so matted, so they had to be cut off. And so I spent an awful lot of my young life snipping away at Timmy's fur with a pair of scissors, very carefully, making sure I didn't actually cut into him in person. That memory stays with me forever. It's funny how some things that you did when you were very small remain in your mind forever. But another one of the many messages I'm getting, and thank you for them, about these diaries, was about dogs. And somebody, believe it or not, wanted to hear my original, very first studio recording of a track that I was brought to the attention of by Keith. Keith, my barber, the man who cuts my hair, at Smile, always used to go to Carnival in the Caribbean and came back one year with a tape. He always brought back tapes of all the successful things on the floats in Carnival. And he played me these songs on this tape, of which one of them he thought was wonderful. And it was called Who Let the Dogs Out? Well, I thought it was fabulous too, and tried to contact people to get hold of the original master. Well, there wasn't an original master. It had only been Keith standing on the float with his cassette player held above his head, recording the band singing Who Let Their Dogs Out on the float. So I then contacted the writer and said, look, would he mind awfully? The first thing I said was, would he mind going into the studio and making a recording of it? He said, yes, no problem. So he did that, and then he sent me the recording in, and it was awful, completely dead, flat, no kind of bubble to it at all. I said, look, I'm terribly sorry. Anselm Douglas, his name was. I'm terribly sorry, Anselm. I think it needs to be much more like it was on the float. Would you mind if I had a go? So I went into the studio under the name Fat Jack and His Pack of Pets, and I recorded a version of it, which I've got to say isn't very good, but then on the other hand, that's not the kind of song you can have a great musical masterpiece of. And we put it out, but it didn't do a thing. It did get played an awful lot, believe it or not, on hospital radio. And they called me with astonishing reports about people lying in their beds dying, calling hospital radio and saying, please play that again, it cheers us up. And from that I thought, do you know what, this is a hit. And the other thing that told me was my nephew, William, who at the time was 6 or 7, and every time he came to my mum's house down in the country and I was there, he'd insist on me bringing him out to the car. I had my baby car with me at the time, and playing it to him on the cassette, the only thing I had of the song. He just adored it. Well, I thought, you know what? If people in hospital beds and my 6-year-old nephew love it, it really is a hit. And I kept on persevering to all my friends. You've got to record this. It's definitely a hit. Finally, I persuaded a friend of mine in America, Steve Greenberg, who I'd got to know very well when he made a couple of obscure albums ages before, and then had discovered Hanson with Bop, if you remember, which I supported strongly as well. And I finally persuaded him. He said to me, look, Jonathan, I hate to tell you, but your version isn't that great. I think I could make a better version of it. Do you mind? And I said, no, anything you can do to prove to me that it is the hit I thought it was, please. So he recorded it with the Baha Men, and it was a huge hit. Anyway, here is my version, Fat Jack and His Pack of Pets, with the slipping camera, and this has been day 29 of the coronavirus. See you tomorrow.
Who let the dogs out? Welcome to the hungry rotten teeth and color crippling red pants away. You was a fox boy. You was old, you was ugly, you was sweet like a pig. Take up your things and run. You're unintelligent, ugly, so that fried chicken. It was breaking bad, it was bumping. Yippee Eye Oh, and everybody having a ball. Yeah, man. Yippee Eye Oh, until the man lived out to them calling. Oh, yeah. Yippee Eye Oh, and every girl responded to their call. A woman shout out, who let the dogs out? 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 There's every minute and a boy called a million buck down can tell. Get back, Fluffy, nice puppy, get back, you flea infested mongrel. Fluffy, nice puppy, get